Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to plug in your electric scooter, spread some Nutella on toast, and put the owl out for the night.
Because it's time to talk Tull to me. Hello, everyone. Happy new album. I am Nick McGill.
And I'm Omen Sade. Welcome to Talk Tull to Me. Here, in this hallowed space, Nick McGill and I are going on a journey. That's right, we are going to discuss song by song every single album that Jethro Tull ever recorded.
And it just so happens that we are about to start the second album. Congratulations, we did it.
You've made it this far. Why stop now?
Why stop now? You might as well. You've got that momentum rolling.
That's right.
So album 2 is Stand Up.
1969.
1969. 16 years before we were born? Yeah, 16 years before we were born.
Well, only 16.
I know, it seems odd, actually, that it's only 16. But
anything with, 1960 in it seems like literally, like another phase of the Earth. You know what I mean?
It might as well be like the 40s.
Yeah, or the Cretaceous period.
The 40s of the Cretaceous period.
Yes.
I mean, the 40s. No other numbers, just 40. Yeah, so Stand Up. So a lot happens with our friends Jethro Tull.
Yeah.
After the launch of This Was, and even before Stand Up even comes out.
Well, I think it's safe to say that at this point, if with This Was, we were listening to kind of a scruffy starter band who were kind of figuring themselves out, with Stand Up, we now have Jethro Tull, raw, uncut. It's pure. You can just inject it straight into your veins.
Black tar Jethro Tull.
Black tar Jethro Tull. It's not mixed with anything. And in addition to that, they have now become really a national success in England and are well on their way to becoming an international success across the pond.
Yeah. In my research, I just want to go back really quick. I've got 3 other band names. Remember when we discussed band names and they would give a different band name every time they went to a show in case they bombed? Right,
yeah.
I've got 3 more of those.
These are historical names that Jethro Tull played under before they were Jethro Tull.
Yeah. And not historical like Jethro Tull was an actual historical figure.
No, but historical in the sense that they are part of the history of the subject that we were discussing.
We're going to play 3 truths and a lie.
Okay.
I'll give you 4 of them and you have to guess which one is not the actual one.
Which is the odd man out. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's hear them.
Option 1, navy blue.
Okay.
Option 2, candy-colored rain.
Ooh, wow. Candy-colored rain.
Option 3, Ian Henderson's bag o' nails.
Is that Henderson with an E?
Henderson, H-E-N.
That's
Henderson.
So weird. Bag o' nails?
Yeah.
Oh God. Okay, what's the fourth one?
Weathercock.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so to review, our options are navy blue.
Navy blue.
What was the second one?
Candy-colored rain.
Candy-colored rain.
Mm-hmm.
Ian Henderson's bag o' nails.
Yep.
And weathercock.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so our listener audience can play along with us right now. Which one do you think was not, in fact, a name under which the band Jethro Tull played? I'll give you a minute to think about it.
Wherever you are, just scream it out.
Yes, especially if you're at a funeral listening to your podcast.
Yeah, in church, preferably.
Preferably. In fact, go into a church right now.
And scream
Enter a church.
And scream weathercock.
I actually am going to go. God. I mean, Ian Henderson's Bag o' Nails is just so bizarre that I it has to be true. It has to be real.
I couldn't come up with that.
I mean, you have a deep and strange imagination, and even that I don't think could have produced such a truly weird title.
I will freely admit I could not come up with that.
I'm tempted, and in fact, what's the second one?
Candy Colored Rain.
That sounds out of place for the theme, but it was the 1960s. I'm tempted to go with Weathercock because, of course, that's a song, and I feel like you may have just pulled that from a list of song titles. I'm gonna go with Weathercock being the name they did not play under. Was I right?
You were right.
I was
that is
right.
Correct. Yeah,
amazing.
I think I went for too folky a theme because they weren't terribly folky at that point. Because Weathercock is off of Heavy Horses.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you guessed Weathercock, you are correct. Well done. Ding 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 ding.
Send us $5 in the mail, and we will send you the official Talk Tull to Me empty envelope.
That brings up a good point, though, Nick, and I'm glad that you brought this up. We are going to be figuring out swag at some point in the future. If you have suggestions of swag that you would like, let us know. If you would like our faces on a mug, our hands on a t-shirt, our hands on a hard body,
your body part of choice on a flute. I know a custom flute guy.
Your elbow on a piccolo.
Yeah, I mean, the possibilities are the possibility for suggestions are endless. We'll go with that.
Exactly.
At least.
Wow.
Ian Henderson's Bag o' Nails, I think.
God.
If I ever do a Tull tribute band, that will be our name.
Yeah. That's just amazing.
Yeah. It was really delightful to see that. So going back.
Yes.
Before we were so rudely interrupted. So a lot happened between This Was and Stand Up.
That's right. And I think that we have to discuss the elephant in the room, or should I say the Bloodwind pig in the room.
Or the Abrams in the room.
The Abrams in the room.
Or the Abrams not in the room, actually.
Well, in point of fact, he was no longer in the room. What we're beating around the bush quite artfully to tell you is that Mick Abrams, the source of so much discussion on the last number of episodes that we covered with This Was, Mick Abrams left the band.
That's right.
That is correct.
In December of '68, which means they had only a couple of months to not only find a replacement, but also record Stand Up, because that was the tail end of '69. I think it was October or maybe November, December, but it was still technically an album from 1969.
Right. Nick, would you like to read the Abrams quote regarding why he left? Oh, and can you please do it in a silly British accent?
I can.
Okay.
Well, do we want to go for the other reasons before we go for his side of the story?
No, I think we should hear his side of the story first.
Okay.
I really want to hear your Mick Abrams voice.
I believe this is actually a direct quote from Mick Abrams because Wikipedia told me so, and I trust Wikipedia.
Great.
I was fed up with all the nonsense, and I wanted to form a band like Bloodwind Pig.
That was really good, Nick.
I don't know what he sounds like.
No,
I
just
think he
imagine
sounds
him
like
to
be
that.
kind of like one of that kind of Cockney-esque lower class.
That sounds like somebody who would form a band called Bloodwind Pig.
Yeah, right. And be super into blues.
Super into blues.
So super into blues. So that was the reason that he gave for his departure.
Yeah.
Some other speculations behind his departure is that their producer at the time, Terry Ellis, wanted Anderson to be the frontman group lead, as we kind of got the feeling, the inkling of that even in This Was.
Right.
And Abrams didn't want to, maybe he would have been okay sharing, but he didn't want to be kicked out of it altogether. He didn't want to lose the ability to be writing some of the songs and being able to represent himself in the band as well.
Right. Well, I do kind of feel like, I think it's fair to say that they're both really extraordinary musicians and really powerful figures.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of think it seems like a case of this town ain't big enough for the both of us.
Sure. It's that frontman ego thing, and not even necessarily ego in a pejorative sense, just like,
no, you have to have a certain command of the stage in order to front a band like that.
Right.
And that comes with a certain belief in yourself and a certain way of being.
In general, a band needs a face, unless you're the Beatles, and these guys sure ain't the Beatles.
No, look at their hair. It was not floppy at all.
Mm-mm.
It was
No.
long and flowing.
Yeah. So I think it was just a matter of one of them had to do it, and it was a little bit of survival of the fittest, and Ian happened to be there happened to be something more appealing about him for whatever reason, whether it's his
right,
and maybe it's the next point is that Abrams was such a blues purist, that Terry Ellis saw Anderson's wanting to branch out into something like folk rock as more marketable, as a new sound.
And I think that maybe he was taking a risk because, at the time you could throw a stick and hit a blues band.
Sure.
At that time, I think. And I think that Terry Ellis must have recognized a certain level of innovation, a certain freshness with Ian Anderson, and decided to take a risk on that freshicity.
Sure. I mean, there was a great deal of freshicity there.
So much.
And do basically is the mindset, do I give the okay to make a passing fair blues band, or do we take a risk and go that next step?
Right.
And they took the risk, and
they took the risk.
Yeah.
And Bloodwind Pig was born.
And this is now Talk Bloodwind Pig to me. And then my favorite reason, because I can relate to this so much.
Okay.
There's speculation that Abrams was just unwilling to travel to international gigs or play more than 3 nights a week.
Right. I mean, that would put a damper on things.
Yeah, I mean, you're setting yourself up to have a very limited ceiling.
Yeah, exactly.
And it to me that feels almost like Abrams just wanted it as a hobby, essentially.
Right.
And he wasn't really looking to commit. Maybe that's the case. I don't know, or maybe he just didn't like travel.
Nick.
Yeah.
I'm itching.
Did you run out of your cream?
I'm itching to listen to the first song on Stand Up.
Okay. A New Day Yesterday?
A nude day yesterday.
A robed day today.
What do you say? Would you like to give it a listen?
A terry cloth towel on Wednesday.
Ooh.
Yeah. a tasty start to an album.
Yeah, it's just so confident with that bass line and the drums.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's so amazing listening to that right next to This Was, because it's like you just feel this enormous swell in confidence from, like, especially from Clive Bunker and Glenn Cornick. It's just so solid.
Mm-hmm.
They're just so certain of what they're doing. There's no hesitancy in it at all.
Yeah, I never thought of This Was as having a timidity until you mentioned there being such confidence there, and it makes sense to me now. It makes sense to say that.
And I think part of it is that they've now been touring.
Sure.
They've now had a reaction from the public,
Mm-hmm.
and from a monetary reaction as well, in terms of the sale of their first album. But just in terms of the touring and the gigs that they would be getting at this point, that they know that they're good now. Whereas I think on that first album, they're still like, we don't really know, we're doing this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's more, I guess, variety on that first album.
Yeah.
There's more, well, if you don't like this, we'll give you this. We'll give you this.
Right. What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want? We'll find something that you like. And this is just like, this is what we got.
This is even though it was under a year between the two albums, this feels like a we're back bitches kind of thing.
It really does.
And it's a great gateway to go from that sound that This was. And it's like, it's, yeah, you can recognize that sound from This Was in here, but there's something more, and just keep on listening, because that you're going to hear more of that.
Well, and they're so supercharged by Martin Barre.
Oh yeah.
He's bringing such, and it's so cool to hear, because I feel like, we've talked about Mick Abrams having been really steeped in the world of the blues, which, and that influences the trajectory of Jethro Tull, certainly. But I feel like Martin Barre coming on the scene, it is now a rock band.
Yeah.
The first album, that was Jethro Tull, the blues band. Now they are a rock band, and you can hear it in that guitar.
Oh yeah.
And it's sexy.
There's suggestion of blues. There's a modicum of blues.
Well, and the blues rock and roll evolved from the blues.
Well, sure.
Anyway.
Yeah. So it's you see the heritage there, I guess. But it's clear that Martin is playing a different sport than what Abrams was playing.
Exactly.
Not to downplay Abrams' talent at all.
No. But this is just it's just a different thing.
Yeah.
Would you like to know what Martin Barre's middle name was?
Oh, do I know this? Martin. Isn't it Martin? No, it's Barre. Is it Barre?
No.
Barre?
No.
What is it?
No. You're thinking of someone else. You're thinking of Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Hammond. That's what I was
Jeffrey
thinking.
Hammond.
That's it. Okay,
No.
Barre. Oh, I know this. And when you say it, I'm gonna kick myself. What is it?
I'm going to say his full name for you. You ready?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Martin Lancelot Barre.
That's right. There are some killer names throughout the years of Jethro Tull. There are some absurd people.
I think that knowing that someone named their son Martin Lancelot Barre, I think if I ever have a son, I'm like obligated. I'm not going to be able to avoid naming him Lancelot.
Do you reckon that he called his guitar Excalibur?
Oh my god!
I mean, how could you not?
Or did he call it Guinevere?
Ooh. And he made sweet, sweet love to it on stage.
Well, Daddy was watching.
Oh, this took a turn.
Read
Okay.
a book, kids.
What is the content that is A New Day Yesterday?
Boom, I got it for you. You ready?
Tell me.
I think that it is about. I think it's directly linked to the touring life. Ian Anderson is describing a possibly romantic entanglement, a tete-a-tete of a nature, finding a brief moment of connection with someone, and then having to leave. And you know what? There were no cell phones.
Yeah.
At that time. It reminds me, as soon as I started reading the lyrics and while listening to it, it reminds me of a Taj Mahal song. Do you know Taj Mahal? Speaking of the blues,
I don't know.
he's great. He's amazing. He's like another just totally unique artist who took an art form and did his own unique thing with it.
Yeah.
But he has a song, I forget the title of it, but it basically describes how he met a woman and she was really beautiful and she gave him her number. But then the chorus is, but that's one of the problems with life out here on the road. Little notes like this ain't got no area code.
Mm.
And I feel like that's what this is. It's like, if you're touring, you meet people and then you're on to the next town, and you may never see them again.
And who knows what town it was? Like, you can't even look up that area code.
Right? You may not even remember.
Yeah.
Oh, I had to leave today, just when I thought I'd found you. It was a new day yesterday, but it's an old day now.
Explain that couplet to me.
Well, it was a new day, because he had let's fictionalize this, so we're not talking directly about Ian Anderson, but let's say that you meet someone and it when you have that first kind of hit, that first sweet rush of affection, it makes everything feel brand new. But then when you realize that you lost that, everything feels gray and old, just like it always has.
Okay. I've forever struggled with that imagery to really solidify it.
You're welcome.
But yeah, I think that does it. I think that does it. Spent a long time looking for a game to play. My luck should be so bad. Mutual grinding of the jumblies. My luck should be so bad now to turn out this way. So again, it's the turn of fortune, and it's not even. I guess the luck aspect is I had bad luck because I found someone that I had affection for and had to leave.
Right, that I found them in this moment in my life where there's nothing I can do about it.
Right, I've been touring for the last 2 months, and I've got 6 more to go.
Exactly.
This is the worst time to find a connection that's more than just a mutual grinding of the jumblies.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we went from depressed about girls songs, and I drank a whole hell of a lot, and this is what it feels like to be on to wake up on a Sunday after going out partying.
Right.
To, man, life on the road, it sure is tough. Like
Right.
There's a certain degree. I wouldn't say it's a maturation, but it's the next step in the evolution.
It's an evolution.
Yeah. It's not your starter Pokemon. It's the next level after you've leveled them up a couple of times.
I barely understand what you're saying to me right now.
You don't need to. Someone out there will get it and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is Charmander, and stand up is
Pikachu.
Charizard? No, it's the next step in the evolution. It has to be the same Pokemon. Omen.
I'll ask. We can bring Katie on as a consultant.
Oh, so it's Pikachu to Raichu. There it is. That's it.
Why are you saying these meaningless syllables at me?
Nick, did you have a stroke? Or you're babbling? You're speaking in tongues.
No, I think that some of them are cute, actually. The yellow one, with the lightning tail, I think is kind of cool.
Have you seen a trailer for the live action movie that's coming out this summer?
Dear God,
Detective Pikachu.
No, I have not. No.
Voiced by Ryan Reynolds. Everybody's favorite Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds.
Are there more than one Deadpool?
No, that's not true. A lot of the cartoons in the video game, they were voiced by Nolan North, who does a fantastic job.
I feel like we're getting off piste here.
Oh, talk Deadpool to me.
Talk Deadpool to me. Wow, so many podcasts.
I know. I've got some great ideas. So A New Day Yesterday.
It's just so... I wrote down, it's so tight and raw. And I am talking about the song.
Mutual Grinding.
Grinding of the Jumblies.
Of the Jumblies. Always comes back to that.
But it's just so like, the rhythm is so clear, everyone knows, and it's just four people. It's just four people playing this music, and the sound is huge.
It's so a lot of that I would attribute to Clive. They let him go on this. He is splashy. But no. Drums and bass, like you said in the beginning, like those.
The bass is that hook.
They are a through line. They are the pulse throughout this.
Cornick basically plays the same 6-note run the entire 4-minute song.
Mm-hmm.
His fingers must be exhausted by the end of that.
And it starts out notable, but eventually it falls back in the sound. Like you stop noticing it after a while, and then I think it comes back.
I think that's because it's so... I don't think it actually gets lesser in volume. Maybe
no, that's not what I'm implying.
But I think that it's because it's so repetitive that it just like... It almost sinks into your bones.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I want to note about this is that, I feel like listening to them side by side, this is really skimming on the surface of a lot of different things. Yeah. And this, just with this first song, it just like is dropping so deep into one thing, into one style, one sound. They're all so unified.
I mean, it kind of feels like the adage, jack of all trades, master of none, where they were trying to hit everything. And it's buckshot versus birdshot. Like they did that scatter in This Was. So there was not a lot of force. They hit a lot, but there was not a lot of force. Whereas this is a plug. This is punching you in the chest with that bass and those splashy cymbals, and
right.
and Ian coming in super strong and solid.
Yeah, right.
And even if you didn't know the drama quote unquote of what went down with Abrams and them having replaced their guitarist, there's a noticeable difference unless you're listening to it and saying, wow, Abrams really stepped up his game. He really changed here.
Right. And I don't know how many people would have been intimately familiar with the makeup of the band at that point. I'm sure that some people were, and some people were like, oh wow, they changed their lineup. But I'm sure that some people didn't notice or didn't know. And I'm sure that for other people, this was the first time that they heard the band. Right now, they're at this moment in the timeline, they're gaining followers faster. And it's so funny that we're calling them followers now because we're so like
fans,
right? Yeah. We're so like social media attuned at the moment. But so for a lot of people, this would be that bass line would be the first sound of Jethro Tull that they ever heard.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about it like that. That maybe they somehow they were exposed to them, but didn't get the This Was album, but they made that choice to get stand up, and then it's jumping right in, and it's a lot like how we were exposed this sound is a lot more like the sound that we started with Tull.
Yes.
I'd say it's that great, it's that missing link between what we know and this was.
Yeah.
But it certainly leans closer to what we know, to those later albums, to Benefit.
Oh, absolutely.
And beyond.
Absolutely. Benefit and Beyond.
That's that's our After Hours podcast. That's if you pledge high enough in the Patreon, we talk about.
We shouldn't even be talking about it right now.
This podcast.
No one is supposed to know about it.
Yeah. You guys lucked out.
That's right after we record. Talk Tull to me. Me. Talk Tull to me.
Me. And it's just one of us just talking to ourselves.
About the podcast that we just recorded.
About the podcast. But in all seriousness, if you guys want a Patreon, if you want some goals, let us know. Please. We've been toying with the idea, but we haven't really solidified anything. If you want to,
we'll do literally anything that you want.
Yeah. There's very little in the way of shame that we have, so come on.
Although I was going to say that I would eat a hamster, but I don't think that I would.
I don't think I would either.
I've been vegetarian the entire last week.
You can't say the entire last week. This past week I was vegetarian. No, and you can't say I was. You can say I ate vegetarian.
Well, you can say I was vegetarian. I have been vegetarian. No, this whole past 5 or 6 days, I've not eaten any meat, except for a piece of beef jerky that I found in my bag.
Except
today.
For a hamster.
No, I would not eat a hamster. I have eaten guinea pig before.
But that was in Ecuador where they eat guinea pig. They make the conscious decision to eat.
As opposed to the unconscious decision
of
eating guinea pig. That so often happens here in the United States.
They have the option of filet mignon, rack of lamb, or guinea pig. They say, I want guinea pig.
I want guinea pig. It had a lovely peanut sauce on it. So wow, I mean, what else is there to say about this song? I feel like it's just, it's so deep.
Yeah. Again, it's the missing link. It's the stepping stone. It's a gateway. When I listen to this song, I get excited for the music that's coming up.
Yes, exactly. And I had that feeling just now when we were listening to it.
Because again, I've listened to this album so much, I know the next few songs, like I know what's going to be there, and I there's very little on this album that I don't really, really like.
Yeah.
So I yes, I'm speaking a little biased, but that's the whole point of this podcast is we are biased. So yeah, it's a great starter to this album. It really is. If I were to look at the other tracks, I don't think anything else would be better served on that first track.
Yeah. One of the reasons that I think that Barr and Anderson hit it off so well.
Are you asking me?
I am. I will tell you.
Okay, good.
Martin Barr played the flute when he was in grammar school.
Hey, there you go.
He was a flautist, so they had that to talk about.
And Ian Anderson played Lancelot in a show.
Oh my God.
In grammar school. No.
He may have done.
I mean, he could have. I don't think he was in theater though. I've never heard that in any of the stories about him or any of his interviews or anything. So
yeah.
And I think we would remember that tidbit. That being said, I don't think I've ever heard much at all about his growing up. He started Tull at 17, so there wasn't much before then.
Right.
But he was probably just like a working class family in
What, Martin Barr?
Scotland. No,
Ian Anderson.
Yeah.
Martin Barr grew up in Birmingham.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, that changes everything.
We're gonna delete what we have, and we're gonna go back to the top.
Talk Birmingham to me.
I think that already exists.
It's gotta. Where is Birmingham?
It's in England.
Oh.
I don't know. If we were still in high school, I would just look up at my wall where I had a map of England.
Yeah,
but I don't remember. I think it's on the west coast of England.
And it's kind of country-ish, right?
No idea. Birmingham.
Not at all.
Birmingham.
You were a bit of. If you say it enough, you may.
I'll see it in front of me.
Yeah. Yeah, you were a bit of an Anglophile.
Still am, apparently.
Not a Birmingham file though. That's the angle that we need.
Wow.
So a little recording note about A New Day Yesterday that I found and just is super amazing.
Yes.
The recording engineer at Morgan Studios, where they did most of their recording.
That was Andy Johns, I believe.
The incomparable Andy Johns. He tried out some new techniques for this.
Right.
I had never noticed it until I had read what they were talking about, and then I went back and listened to it again. And I was like, oh yeah, I can hear that now. There's a swirling in the stereo. You can kind of feel the sound loop around your head with the guitar.
And how did they achieve that?
He achieved it by swinging a very expensive Neumann U67 mic, and Neumann still makes mics, and they're still expensive. So I didn't look up what a Neumann U67 would be, but he took it, he hung it on the end of the cord like a regular mic cord, and just swung it in wide circles over his head around the studio.
That sounds like something that you would do to get rid of warts. If you were Thomas Sawyer.
Yeah, I mean, there was a dead cat.
He then buried the microphone under the full moon.
Yep.
And his warts were cured.
And said his middle name backwards 4 times. But this is how they had to make these effects back then.
That's so crazy. I mean, I'm just like, I'm having the mental image of that right now, and it's just so exciting. I would love to see people do that now. You know what I mean? I feel like everything now is like, well, we'll just push the button that does that thing. And obviously I know that I'm romanticizing the past, which, you know, isn't necessarily what we always want to do, but that is so delightful. That's such a delightful image of him swinging this microphone around.
Yeah, there was a much more of a necessity for analog invention,
right,
as opposed to now where you just invent the app, essentially, you know.
Right. You filter the sound somehow. They had to do that in real life, in a way.
Literally, physically, they had to do it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah. So going back, you listen and you can hear that kind of that wave. You can feel it. If you have a good enough set of stereo headphones, you can feel it go from one side to the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really neat.
Oh, I thought that was just the gin.
No. It happens when you're never sober. So.
No. Hey, Nick.
Omen.
What are we listening to next week?
Oh, next week we are listening to Jeffrey Goes to Leicester Square, the second of our triplet of Jeffrey Hammond collection. The second of our Jeffrey Hammond trio.
Triptych.
That's the word I was looking for.
Was it?
Could have been.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. We are going to listen to Jeffrey Goes to Leicester Square.
So in the meantime, while you're waiting for Jeffrey Goes to Leicester Square next week, go to your podcast catcher of choice, rate us, review us, subscribe. If you want merch, let us know. If you want a Patreon, let us know. Tell a friend. Tell the friend that you secretly listen to Jethro Tull with about this podcast, because they all need to know. And tell a friend that you don't listen to Jethro Tull with about this podcast, and maybe it will push them to appreciate Tull, and you can listen with 2 people instead of just 1.
Download it onto your boss's phone when she goes to the bathroom.
That's right. And then set it as her alarm, so she wakes up to it every morning.
You are going to get that promotion. You are going to get it.
Guarantee. I personally guarantee.
Partner by September.
Partner at Wegmans by September. So that is it for this week. It's a new episode next week. It's an old podcast now. So until then, I'm Nick McGill.
And I'm Omen Sade.
We are Feckless Momes.
And this is Talk Tull to Me.
Oh, hey there. Talk Tull to Me is a proud member of the Feckless Momes audio network.